What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got some throwback horror film reviews. It is a big edition of Tales from the Fort, where I'm going back to review a series of movies. It's the first time that I've done a franchise review in quite a while, but I decided for this Christmas season that I have not brought you guys nearly enough Christmas horror content in the history of my channel. So I went through, and we all love Silent Night, Deadly Night, right? It's one of the classic, schlocky, fun Christmas horror films. To those of you guys that like Christmas horror, that's obviously one that's always in everyone's top 10. But I had never seen the sequels of the film. There are 4 original sequels. There are 5 movies in total in the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise, and I had never seen 2 through 5. I still haven't seen the remake yet. I have to watch that at some point. I'll give you guys a review on that when I see it. But I went through for the first time ever, and I rewatched the first Silent Night, Deadly Night, which I love and I've seen a million times. And then I went through and I watched 2, 3, 4, and 5 for the first time ever. And I want to bring you guys a really brief synopsis of my thoughts as a first-time viewer of those 4 films and the franchise as a whole. So, real quick, 5-movie deep dive. I'm going to just touch on each one real briefly and keep this kind of short. But I wanted to bring you guys a franchise review for the holiday season. Here we go. The first Silent Night, Deadly Night is from 1984, is written by Paul Kamy, and directed by Charles Sellier. Hope that I'm pronouncing that right. And basically, all these films run between like an hour and 25 minutes and an hour and 35. So you're basically getting 90 minutes per movie. So they're all pretty quick. They're all pretty basic and hit hard. This first Silent Night, Deadly Night's a classic. It's the best of the we'll get to that, but it's one of the best in the franchise. It's considered an absolute classic for the fact that in 1984, it's ahead of its time. It's brutal. It's depicting Santa Claus in a negative way for one of the first times in the mainstream public as far as the horror community goes. And it follows Billy Chapman. He's a little kid who was warned as a kid to fear Santa Claus because Santa Claus only gives gifts to the good and punishes the naughty. Then as they're going home for Christmas, they're driving home, a store robber tries to get in their car, and the family tries to drive away. So this killer in a Santa suit shoots the father, tries to rape the mother, and kills her, and leaves Billy Chapman and his brother Ricky there to run away, and doesn't get to kill them. But Billy Chapman is old enough now to remember that this guy in a Santa suit has killed his father and raped and killed his mother. So he's experienced now a negative connotation with sex and with Santa Claus. And so this film is a mental deterioration picture about Billy Chapman being told about Santa Claus being involved with naughty stuff, so that anytime he sees anything involving Santa or Christmas or sex, he gets this evil urge in the pit of his stomach and gets really nervous and all that. And now he winds up being a murderer, basically. He turns into an evil Santa Claus. He gets a job, I think, in some kind of a store for it to be Santa Claus. And since he equates sex and death with Santa Claus, he now becomes the evil murderer Santa. So the rest of the film is him running around in a Santa suit, murdering people around the holiday season. So it's basic, it's schlocky, some of the dialogue is cheesy, but it's a very fun movie with a good psychological story. It makes sense to equate childhood memories and traumas and to be scarred by those things as you become an adult. So it has a good linear story, it has some decent acting, and the story makes sense. And so I like this one. I give this one a 7 out of 10. It is the standard for the franchise, and it spawned 4 sequels. So good for this movie. Good to see that now the censors aren't so crazy these days. There's an unrated cut out there with 10 extra minutes, and people are more forgiving of what the franchise is now because of this movie. The second one, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, came out 3 years later in 1987, and it's written by Lee Henry and Joseph Earl, and Lee Henry also directed the film, and it is a sequel involving Ricky Chapman, Billy's brother, the little boy in the little baby in the first movie, who was there when the father was killed and the mother was raped and killed. Obviously, in the first film, Billy dies, and Ricky sees Billy die in front of him, so that's more trauma for his family, because now his father, his mother, and his brother are dead, and his brother was killed in front of him when he was old enough to remember it. So we have good continuity and a continuation of the story. The problem with this film, which takes it down a few notches for me, is that they use 40 minutes of footage repeated from the first film. They go back and show you 40 minutes of the same footage. So pretty much like almost half the movie is just repeated footage. So I like the continuity. I like that they show you a little bit of it. I wish they would flash back for, 2 minutes or like 60-second clips of little certain things, but they didn't have to make half the movie flashbacks. They didn't have a lot of original footage for this, so it's only half original. So while the continuity is good and they show you what happened in the first one, and that's nice, and we get Ricky in the mental hospital talking about what happened, and we see him snapping after his brother dies and going through crazy kills. It's just not terribly original because of all the flashback footage. They overused it. But the kills are really good, and the gore is really good, and Ricky is a crazy over-the-top character, so this one's a little more schlocky in tone, but the effects are ratcheted way up, and there's a lot of outrageous kills. So if you like kind of some cheesy dialogue, some big-time kills, and some continuity, you'll like this film, but it is over the top, and it is a lot of repetitive stuff with the old footage. So I still think this film is above average. It's still a fun watch. It goes by very fast. And again, if you like creative kills and you like the theme of the first one, that stuff continues in this movie. I give this one a 6 out of 10, so not as good as the first one, but has good moments. Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out, was made 2 years after the second one, in 1989. It's written by Carlos Laszlo and directed by Monte Hellman. And to me, this one is by far the biggest disappointment of the series. I heard this one was really good, and I did not like it. It's the only one in the series that I find to be unwatchable. It's basically a girl, after Ricky is injured in the second movie and taken to a psychiatric hospital where he's put under mental evaluation. He's in a coma, and he's being studied. And he's connected to a girl who has like telepathy or telekinesis or some kind of mental bond with Ricky. And so they do a study on her mind and a study on his mind. So the continuity is still there with Ricky from the second movie. And they have this person with this mental telepathy who is being studied at the same time. So now she bonds with Ricky. So when she gets out of the hospital after her study and she goes to, I think, their parents' house for Christmas, Ricky gets out, kills people, and then goes to find her because they're bonded. This film could have been a very good psychological story. I love the telepathic thing. It reminds me of Friday the 13th Part 7, A New Blood. It could have easily been Santa Claus versus the telepathic. It could have been Carrie Meets Jason kind of thing in this film. So they had a nice groundwork for a story, and they missed the opportunity. This thing is slow. There's no likable characters, and nothing happens till the last 15 minutes of the movie. You don't see any of the blood. You don't see any of the kills. They're all off screen. They're very sparsed out. They're really nothing until the last 15 minutes happens at all. It's a bunch of characters walking around the house when you think it's going to be tense, and it's not. It's not paced well. It's very slow. The characters are dry. No one's likable, not even the main character. The only positive thing is that Ricky's continuity is there, and Ricky is played this time by Bill Moseley, who's obviously a horror legend. So that casting choice was great. This could have been great, but it was so dull, and it was not fun. All the rest of the films, for better or for worse, whether they're over the top or schlocky or cheesy or not, whether they're good or bad, they're all fun. They're all easy watches. They're all fun background Christmas movies. You can watch them with your friends who like Christmas horror. You can drink to them. You can laugh at them. They're all fun whether they're good or bad. This one is not fun. This one is dry. It's slow. It's darkly shot. There's long takes of nothing happening. I don't like this one. I give this one a 3 out of 10. But we come back strong, in my opinion, to the strongest of the entire franchise. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 Initiation came out in 1990, and I really enjoyed this one. It's directed by Brian Yuzna and co-written by Yuzna and 2 other writers. Brian Yuzna was one of the proteges of Stuart Gordon with Dolls and The Fly and stuff like that. He also did his own movies like Society and the 2 Dentist movies. So Brian Yuzna is very good at body horror, and that's exactly what this movie is. Yuzna did a good job with this. This was basically a feminist reporter who gets hired at a news reporting team, is dominated and talked down to by a bunch of the men there. So she, her feminist genes kick in, and she's like, well, I'm stuck in this job where I'm better at my job than these guys are, but they're all treating me like I'm lesser because I'm a woman. And so she winds up bonding with this librarian who winds up being a cult leader who tries to recruit her into their cult because she's a strong woman. So she preys upon this woman who's being talked down to by the men in her life, who's stuck in a bad relationship and a go-nowhere job because of the co-workers. And she brings this woman into their society, initiates them into this cult of strong ladies. And we come to find out that the main woman lost her daughter. Her daughter didn't follow through with the requirements of the cult, so the daughter wound up dying at the beginning of the film, and this woman is looking for a new person to lead this cult and replace her daughter. in her life. So this mother figure is looking for a new daughter who's a strong woman. So she tries to recruit this girl. So you get a lot of body horror. You get a lot of bugs. You get a lot of just slow deterioration. You really don't know what's a vision and what's real. These bugs are following her around. There's some really good body horror. There's some LGBTQ undertones. There's some eroticism. There's some sexuality. There's just some really dark scenes in this, which are really cool. Now, if you notice, I haven't talked about continuity or Christmas. Those things don't exist in this movie. That is one reason why it goes down a little bit for me, is that this movie, I bet, was just called Initiation. And they were like, hey, we're going to do a horror film around Christmas time, and we don't know how to market it. So let's just call it Silent Night, Deadly Night, because it has nothing to do with the previous movies or any of the previous characters or even Christmas. Aside from being said that it's set around Christmas, there's no Christmas ambiance, there's no Christmas feel, there's no Santa Claus character, there's no Ricky, none of those characters exist in this film. So I think it was just called Initiation, and they slapped this franchise title on it to cash in on the sequel. It actually was called Bugs in the UK, so it was not called Silent Night, Deadly Night in the UK at all. I think they just wanted to make a horror film and slap this on there. So it's not canon to the rest of the franchise, and it does not feel like the rest of the franchise. But as a standalone story, it's very, very good. The acting is among the best in the series. The effects are amazing because of all the body horror. It is well paced. It's psychological. It's got a good backstory. Everything from the beginning ties into the end. It's a really fun movie overall. And like I said, if it had canon, it would be far and away better than it was. But I still think because of the story and the acting and where it went from beginning to end and the linear journey of the characters, I would give this one a 7 out of 10. I love this one. I think it is just ahead of the first film in the franchise. Now for the final one, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toymaker, 1991. It came out a year later. And it is directed by Martin Kitrosser and written by Martin Kitrosser and Brian Yuzna. So Brian Yuzna is back as a co-writer in this film, and Martin Kitrosser directed. And Mickey Rooney stars in this film, the classic Christmas icon Mickey Rooney. Great actor, great for this role, my goodness. This is one of the most fun ones of the franchise. It is back to the Christmas canon. It does not involve the characters in the first 3 films, but it does come back in a Christmas ambiance. There's decorated houses, there's lighting, there's music. It feels very Christmas horror. It is back into the canon of at least what the series is meant to be. It's the first one of the series to implicate multiple people, as you don't know who the killer is right away. It's the first film in the series where you don't know who the killer Santa Claus is at first. And then you get slow reveals as time goes on that Mickey Rooney's character lost his son in a car accident. And so he raises this kind of robot kind of thing as his son, and he wants to suck in the main character to steal her son because the robot's not a good enough son for him. He builds a robot son, but he wants a real son who's the little boy in this movie. So this evil Santa Claus is invading this girl's main character's house, trying to steal her son and all that. And you get some good kills in this. And you also get an appearance from the girl in number 4, the continuity. The girl from Initiation is back. I imagine as the same character in part 5 here, and you kind of hear about her going through crazy stuff around Christmas time too. So there is some continuity. So some continuity is back. The feel of the series is back. Mickey Rooney is a great antagonist Santa Claus, and this one is so much fun with evil toys and solid gore and just a well-paced fun film that implicates multiple characters that makes you kind of wonder about the mystery of this one. So it's got a good mystery aspect. I love this one quite a bit. I give this one a 6.5 out of 10. So if I had to rank them, I would say 4 out of these 5 movies are great. I would say they're all worth watching, except for number 3, which was a big disappointment. And I would rank these, I would say number 4, Initiation, is the best. Then The Original is the second best. Then The Toymaker is the third best. Then Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 is the fourth. And the only bad one in the series, in my opinion, is number 3, Better Watch Out. So that is my franchise ranking of the 5 movies. 4 very good surprises that I enjoyed, 1 not so much. But check these out. If you like these, even if, like I said, they're over the top, they're crazy, but they're fun Christmas slashers, it's the time of year for them. If you have not seen them, go check them out. And if you guys know where I can check out the remake that I've not seen, please let me know. I think it was a mid-2000s film. So hit me up with that so I can check that one out. And if there's any other Christmas horror films you guys want to see me review during this season, please post down below. Like, share, and subscribe if you like these videos. And I will see you guys with more Christmas horror soon this season. Take care.